Putin Bad News Putin has stayed in Russia so far in 2018. A major headache is coming up for him in the next month. It's possible that Vladimir Putin will soon travel outside of Russia for the first time this year and make his first personal appearance before Western leaders since he invaded Ukraine 18 months ago. The Kremlin has not yet confirmed whether or not he will attend the G20 summit in India next month. Since the International Criminal Court, ICC, issued an arrest warrant for him in March over allegations of war crimes in Ukraine, the Russian president has not traveled abroad. This week highlighted how much more challenging travel has become as a result. As a result of the political uproar Putin's indictment caused in South Africa, the country would have had to place the 70-year-old under arrest had he shown up in person for a series of meetings that kicked off in the country on Tuesday. Instead, he chose to appear virtually while Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa hosted the presidents of India, China, and Brazil at the yearly BRICS summit. In his speech, Putin assured African nations that Russia would continue to be a responsible supplier of food. On September 9 and 10, at the G20 summit, Putin and Western leaders may have their first face-to-face encounter since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Since 2019, Putin has not personally attended the conference. He missed the ones in Bali and Rome, and the one in 2020 will be virtual because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The International Criminal Court, ICC, does not have its own police force, so it must rely on the countries that have signed the Rome Statute to arrest suspects. The possibility of Putin visiting Johannesburg sparked heated debate. While the main opposition party went to court to make sure the government followed its ICC obligations, President Ramaphosa warned that his arrest could lead to war with Russia. Meetings are a huge headache. Professor at American University's Washington College of Law Rebecca Hamilton previously worked for the International Criminal Court as a prosecutor during the time that Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir became the first sitting head of state to be indicted for crimes against humanity, from 2007 to 2009. In 2015, while in Johannesburg for a meeting of African leaders, al-Bashir evaded arrest by leaving the country on a private jet. This caused South Africa to come under fire. Professor Hamilton remarked, "There are a lot of really fantastic human rights lawyers in South Africa, who challenge the government to fulfill its constitutional and international legal duties. So, it has effects here at home as well." That's what happens when a high-profile figure like Vladimir Putin visits a member state of the International Criminal Court. If he is going to a country that has not signed up with the International Criminal Court, then the math changes. For Omar al-Bashir, dealing with all of these diplomatic ramifications that come from the warrant was so frustrating and demeaning. Even though India has not ratified the Rome Statute, Hamilton warned that Putin would have to face nations that had condemned Russia on the international stage if he attended the G20. The G20 usually produces a statement at the end of their meeting and there will be a fight over what is said about Russia within that statement, she predicted. That's going to get complicated if Russia shows up. Then, a great deal of diplomatic effort is expended. Does Putin get to be a part of the group photos and public appearances? Is he marginalized in any way? Normally, journalists would be granted access to the G20 summit, but Putin is unlikely to appreciate having tough questions directed at him. All of this means that for anyone who has an ICC arrest warrant out against them, attending these meetings is a huge headache. Putin was scheduled to visit Turkey in August for meetings, President Recep Erdogan of Turkey said last month. On Tuesday, however, the pro-government newspaper Yeni Afak claimed that Erdogan would visit Moscow instead. In other words, Turkey has not signed the Rome Statute. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has yet to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, despite India's substantial trade ties with the aggressor. Putin skipped the G20 summit in Bali a week before it was scheduled to take place last year, sending Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov instead. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was invited to the 2022 G20 meetings despite his country's non-membership. He participated virtually. This year Zelensky is not invited. Putin is expected to travel to China in October, according to Russian state media, but it is unclear whether he will also attend the G20 summit in India.